Hi again, everyone. Gary Digit Williams here on Beltway Boxing News and Notes on the Boxing on the Beltway Podcast Network. Of course, you can always hear the podcast network if you go to Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio.com, Stitcher.com, and TuneIn.com, and on YouTube. We've got, again, some great news and notes podcasts every week. We also have great live broadcasts. We'll be talking about one of those coming up in the next week. And also great commentary and interviews as well, right here on the Boxing on Beltway Podcast Network. And this week, we finally get around to it. We preview the awesome April of Beltway Boxing. And we're going to preview this great schedule that's coming up this coming month. And it's going to be outstanding both in and out of the Beltway, both on the amateur and on the pro side. So we're going to talk about that. We also have some late news on some results that took place earlier this week. And a couple of bouts that are scheduled to take place as we record this tonight, Saturday, March 30th. In a couple of locations, so we're going to talk about that as well. So all that coming up on this week's Beltway Boxing News and Notes podcast, which is brought to you, as always, by Real Time Pain Relief. From boxers to ballerinas, for shoulder pain to muscle strain, everything between, Boxing Along the Beltway recommends Real Time Pain Relief, the natural, plant-based, safe, fast, and effective ointment. You go to freepainoffer.com, buy $10 worth of Real Time Pain Relief, you get a free $10 tube of Real Time Pain Relief. Rub it on, the pain is gone in real time. And by DeborahSpears.com, where she has those great weight loss tips. You can lose weight without dieting and eat real food along the way. And you also have that great boxing jewelry and other jewelry she sells on her site. And that's Deborah, Debra Spears.com. Earlier this week, this past couple of days ago, I had a couple of bouts that took place. One was on this past Friday. March 29th at the Sugar House Casino in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And that's where Owings Mills, Maryland heavyweight Colby Madison, I think he's known as King Colby Madison now. He scored a second round TKO over Emilio Salas of Yonkers, New York, at the Sugar House Casino. Now, Colby Madison is someone who has fought well. He's undefeated, but in his last couple of outings, he didn't look all that good. He has struggled. He struggled. He got a draw in one of those bouts and really was not at his best. Well, that changed Friday night at the Sugar House Casino. He had a weight advantage of a little more than 20 pounds over Emilio Salas. And that's been happening a couple of times in Madison's career where he's had some big weight advantages. And not that Madison's that huge. He came in about 235 in the bout against Salas. But his opponents have been relatively small. He fought one guy and actually fought this guy to a draw. And he came in at 199. He came in at a cruiserweight, not even as a heavyweight. But he made no bones about it Friday night. Madison hit Salas with he missed with a left jab, but he came back at a nice, sneaky right hook and dropped Salas to the canvas early in the second round. And referee Gary Izzato stopped the bout at 23 seconds of the second round. A great win for Colby Madison. They're talking about him fighting a guy by the name of Michael Polite Coffey, who's also on that card. I believe he's out of New York. And he had a brutal knockout on this card, on this King Promotions card. And they're talking about those two guys getting together. And that might be interesting. See what happens there. Both guys undefeated. So we'll see. Colby Madison now 8-0-2, 5 KOs. And Emilio Salas, who hadn't fought in a couple of years, he's now at 5-3-1 with 3 KOs to his credit. Now on Thursday night at the Cowboys Dance Hall in San Antonio, Texas, Juan de la Cruz Rodriguez out of Haymarket, Virginia. He was in a welterweight battle against Jericho Hands of Stone Walton of Houston, Texas. And Rodriguez lost a 4-round unanimous decision. All 3 judges scored about a shutout, 40-36. This took place at the Cowboys Dance Hall in San Antonio, Texas. And Rodriguez has lost now 7 in a row. He's 8-14-1, 6 KOs. And Jericho Walton remains undefeated. He's 12-0 now, 7 KOs. But I tell you, Rodriguez just not getting a break. And it's really tough for him going forward. So we'll see what happens as he tries to continue his career there. But again, so a couple of events taking place this past week. Now tonight, as we record this, have a couple of events coming up. And one of them features DC. Well, he's a middleweight, but as I'll tell you, he came in a little over the middleweight limit for this bout. But Dustin Hernandez Harrison finally will make his return tonight. It'll be at the Grand Theater in New Albany, Indiana. He'll be in a 6-round bout against Bruce the Rage Rumboltz of Sterling, Illinois. Now, again, as we said Hernandez and Harrison has not fought since September 2016. He won a 10-round unanimous decision over Thomas LaManna. That was in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Harrison is 30-0-1, 16 KOs, and he is fought very, very well. But he has not fought since September 2016, so we'll see what happens with this bout coming up. They finally got a bout, because I tell you, he's been trying to get on bouts over the last, I'd say, 4 to 6 months. A bout in D.C. fell through. One bout in West Virginia, he went all the way up there, and they couldn't find an opponent for him. But they got one this time in Bruce Rumboltz, whose career dates all the way back to 1994. He's fought some quality people along the way, including our very own Mike the Persecutor Pascal. And he got knocked out in the fourth round of that one against Pascal in 2008. Bruce Rumboltz's record is 22-35-2 with 15 KOs, coming off a 4-round unanimous decision loss to Stephen Edwards in September of 2017. I believe that bout was in Philadelphia. So we'll see what happens there with Dusty Hernandez Harrison taking on Bruce Rumboltz. About scheduled for 6 rounds at the Grand Theater in New Albany, Indiana. I heard from Harrison's father and trainer, Buddy Harrison. They are in there ready to go, so we'll see what happens. And we'll get the details and put it on the blog when the bout takes place. Meanwhile, another guy that is making his pro debut in this card, and this came under some very light fanfare, which is a little surprising given who his trainer is, but a guy by the name of Brian Bam Bam Haneschlager. He is a amateur heavyweight, now pro heavyweight, making his pro debut tonight from Baltimore, Maryland. He's trained out of Jake Smith's Baltimore Boxing Gym. He is making his pro debut tonight at the Powell Center in Hockinson, Delaware. I believe he's taking on Jerome Morris of Darby. I believe he's out of Darby, Pennsylvania. By way of Trinidad and Tobago. Both guys are making their pro debut on this card. Now, Brian Haneschlager, they call him Bam Bam. Brian Bam Bam Haneschlager was really a star attraction at a lot of recent amateur cards thrown by Jake Smith and Baltimore Boxing Promotions at Michael's 8th Avenue in Glen Burnie, Maryland. He has fought, and also the Burns Arena, he's had a couple there. But he's been a fan favorite, big guy, can knock out some people, has had difficulty at times. So we'll see what happens. But Brian Bam Bam Haneschlager makes his pro debut tonight at the Powell Center in Hockinson, Delaware. Wish him well as also. Now, we're going to go right to the awesome April of Beltway Boxing. And we have a couple of other events we want to talk about as well afterwards, after the schedule. We're going to talk about those two later on. Over the past few years, and this has happened for a while now, April and May for that matter, but April and May have been two of the busiest months for Beltway Boxing. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's the coming of spring and people are trying to recalibrate their careers and see how far they can go and how busy they can be. But it's very interesting that that April and May have always been our busier months of the year. And April, we have referred to over the years as the awesome April of Beltway Boxing. And this year definitely lives up to that tradition, but in a different way. It's not so much because of the quality of the cards and quality of the bouts, I should say, really. Because, of course, you can't get better than what happened April 7th when Jarrett Hurd fought Erislandy Lara. I mean, that was, again, by many people's estimation and people's choice as the fight of the year in 2018. ESPN called it that, Sporting News called it that, and a few others. So, and we had events going on in April as well, but this year is different because it's not so much we have major bouts, although we do have some good ones. It's the fact that we have volume. We are so busy in the month, especially in the Beltway. We are very busy. We have one location that will have some sort of boxing every Saturday in the month of April. That's interesting in and of itself. And then we have one particular day in April where there'll be 3 events going on at the same time on that day. So it's going to be wild. It's going to be crazy. And it's going to be a lot of fun as well. So here we go. The awesome April Beltway Boxing 2019. And it begins on Friday night, April the 5th, at the Sam's Town Hotel and Gambling Hall in Las Vegas, Nevada. And that's where Baltimore, Maryland super featherweight Jamal Dyer will be in an 8-round bout against undefeated Andres Cortez of Las Vegas. Dyer is 9-1, 5 KOs, competing in an 8-rounder for the very first time in his pro career. He's coming off a 6-round unanimous decision win over previously undefeated Carlos Dixon on March 2nd in Columbus, Ohio. And this will be Dyer's third bout in 3 months. So he's been busy, and he's his competition is rising and getting a little better. And we'll see what happens, because Andres Cortez is 10-0, 6 KOs. He last fought on January 17th. And he stopped Eder Amado Fajardo in the third round at the MGM Grand Garden in Las Vegas. So Dyer is testing himself. There's no question about that. And he was the Rookie of the Year in 2017 and co-Rookie of the Year along with Antoine Russell. And you see why he is progressing as a pro. He took one shot on the chin and got knocked out, but he's been fighting some quality boxers as of late. And we'll see if that continues and see how well he does when he takes on Andres Cortez on Friday, April 5th, 8-round bout at the Sam's Town Hotel and Gambling Hall in Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, we start our first Beltway area card. It's an amateur card, and of course it is the 2019 Washington Golden Glove Championships. That'll take place on Saturday, April the 6th at Rosecroft Raceway in Fort Washington, Maryland. Rosecroft Raceway will be the place where they'll be boxing, some sort of boxing, every Saturday for the month of April. Now, we'll talk more about the Washington Golden Gloves in detail next week, and we'll have live blow-by-blow coverage of the card on Saturday, April 6th. Our airtime is 7:25 p.m. Eastern Time. Juan Marshall and I will have the call for the 7:30 start. There's some good matchups for the event. You can see the bout sheet on the blog, boxonbeltway.blogspot.com. And you can see all the matchups for this event that are scheduled for Saturday, April 6th. So this will be the Novice and the Open Championships for D.C., Maryland, and Delaware. And that'll take place 7:30 p.m. is the start, and 7:25 we're on the air here. So if you hope you can make it to Rosecroft Raceway, I tell you, we've had some packed houses. We were packed for the second semifinal last week. We were on April 20, on March 23rd, we were absolutely packed, standing room only at Rosecroft Raceway. In fact, the same for these for the Washington Golden Gloves championships, and that'll be Novice Open Championships on Saturday, April 6th, Rosecroft Raceway in Fort Washington, Maryland. Then on Friday and Saturday, April 12th and the 13th, we talked about this last week, the Virginia, North Carolina Golden Gloves will take place on that doubleheader night. April 12th, 13th. They may use the 14th, but it doesn't look like they will. But that'll be the Virginia, North Carolina Golden Gloves. And that'll take place Friday and Saturday, April 12th through the 13th, beginning at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I don't think we'll have coverage of that this week. Juan Marshall has another engagement. So I'm just going to be there kind of scout to see what's going on. And this will be actually my final visit to a Golden Gloves this year. And I'll tell you why a little bit later on. But should be interesting to see what happens. Virginia, North Carolina Gloves. And again, as we talked about last week, there's some issue as to why they could not hold the Virginia, North Carolina Golden Gloves in the state of Virginia. I have no idea why they couldn't do it. They just could not do it this year. So it's going to be at Rosecroft. Once again, that's Friday and Saturday, April 12th and the 13th. The Virginia, North Carolina Golden Glove Championships come up on that night. Now, also on Saturday, April 13th, from Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City, New Jersey, we talked a little bit about this. Baltimore, Maryland, Slick Nick Kisner, he'll be in a 10-round heavyweight bout against undefeated Otto Wallen of Sundsvall, Sweden. This bout is scheduled to be televised by Showtime. It's on the card that features the unified middleweight female championship between Clarissa Shields and Christina Hammer. Kisner is 23-4-1, 6 KOs. He last fought on July 28th when he won a 10-round majority decision over Scott Cujo Sigmund. That was in Columbus, Ohio. Wallen, who is currently the EBU European Union and the WBA Continental Heavyweight Champion, he's 20-0, 13 KOs, coming off a 12-round unanimous decision over Adrian Gannat. That was on April 21st in his hometown of Sundsvall. And this will be Wallen's first bout in the United States. So we'll see what happens on that bout. And again, there's another opportunity for Nick Kisner to step up in competition. And he has fumbled. He is not done. I mean, he's fought well, but he's not been successful against the likes of Latif Coyote and other boxers he's had trying to step up. So we'll see what he does here against Otto Wallen. And this will be in a heavyweight division. And this is something that Kisner doesn't normally do. I've always wondered if he should do that. But again, with only 6 knockouts, he doesn't have the power at the cruiserweight. How in the world he's going to have power at the heavyweight division? We'll have to wait and see. But that is going to be on Saturday, April 13th, Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Now, another bout scheduled to be on this card, but I'm not sure if it's going to be on there. But it's on the box rec, so we're going to talk about it this week, and maybe we'll make some changes in the next couple of weeks. But Washington, D.C. featherweight Marcus Dreamcatcher Bates, he'll be back in action in an 8-round contest on that card against Jesse Angel Hernandez of Fort Worth, Texas. Now, this will be the first bout for Bates, who is 8-1-1, 7 KOs since he lost his first career contest. And that was an 8-round unanimous decision to Raiz Aline, and that was in April of last year in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So we'll see what Bates does and if he's scheduled to be on this card. Hernandez is 12-2, 7 KOs. He'll be coming off a loss as well. He dropped a 10-round unanimous decision to Thomas Patrick Ward. That was on February 15th in Mulvane, Kansas. I believe that was the card where Michael Fox lost on Showtime. So we'll see what happens there. That's all Saturday, April 13th, and that'll be at Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Nick Kisner against Otto Wallen, and Marcus Bates scheduled to be against Jesse Angel Hernandez. Also on Saturday, April 13th, at the Boonesboro Ruritan Club in Lynchburg, Virginia, Bedford, Virginia, cruiserweight Scott Cujo Sigmund. He'll be in a 10-round bout against undefeated Ronnie the Unbreakable Glass. That's his name, from Danville, Virginia. Sigmund, of course, 33, 13-1, 17 KOs. He keeps saying he's going to give it up, but he never does. And that's good because he's definitely a popular figure up in that area, and he's going to bring a big crowd to this card. He bounced back from his loss to Kisner, we talked about, and he defeated Max Alexander, who was a promising prospect and a contender at one time. He beat Alexander by 10-round unanimous decision on December 15th in Lynchburg, Virginia. Now, Glass is 9-0-1 with 6 KOs. He scored a second-round TKO over Courtney McCleave, and that was on July 21st in Yanceyville, North Carolina. Now, looking at Glass's record, he hadn't fought a lot of great people, so this will be kind of a step up against in a crossroads bout situation for Scott Cujo Sigmund. I mean, I said for Glass against Scott Cujo Sigmund, I should say. So we'll see what happens. So that's Scott Cujo Sigmund taking on Ronnie the Unbreakable Glass. And that'll be a 10-round bout at the Boonesboro Ruritan Club in Lynchburg, Virginia on Saturday, April the 13th. Now, on Saturday, April the 20th, this bout is this is our pro card that's going to take place at Rosecroft Raceway in Fort Washington, Maryland. New promotion company, KBW Promotions, run by Mr. Ken Weckstein. And we'll give you some of the bouts. We have actually a preview on the blog, but the preview has kind of changed, so we're not going to go into it this week. We'll go into it another week or so. And the number of Beltway boxers on this card, including Dusty Hernandez Harrison, the sexy Albanian, Yank Plana, heavyweight Mike Silverback Balogun will be on this card, undefeated heavyweight there out of Upper Marlboro. The Lion King, Jonathan Burge, he's super welterweight. Also, DC welterweight David Day Great Lion, Jonathan Burge is out of Hagerstown, Maryland, by the way. Woodbridge, Virginia, cruiserweight Mario Flores, and debuting Lusby, Maryland, super featherweight Nathaniel Lee ASAP Davis. And he's a boxer out of the Old School Boxing Gym, which is right on the grounds of Old School Boxing. And he'll make his pro debut on this card. So a good array of Beltway boxers on this show. This will be on Saturday, April 20th, Rosecroft Raceway in Fort Washington, Maryland. Now, we will not have blow-by-blow coverage of this card. And basically, the reason is because yours truly will serve as the ring announcer for this card. So I'm not trying to do too much these days. I really am not trying to do just as much as I can. So I'll be ring announcer for that card. And I got this special notice as well. If you'd like to purchase tickets to this card, we hope you do, of course, you can do so by going to the Rumble at Rosecroft link that's located in the Other Boxing Link section of the Boxing Law and Beltway blog. If you go to boxinglawandbeltway.blogspot.com, go to my Other Boxing Link section, you can see there's a link in there for to purchase tickets for the Rumble at Rosecroft coming up on April 20th, Saturday, April 20th, and you can help us out as well along the way. So go to the Rumble at Rosecroft link on the other boxing link section of boxingonthebeltway.blogspot.com. That's Saturday, April 20th, the KBW Promotions card at Rosecroft Raceway in Fort Washington, Maryland. That's our pro show for Rosecroft. Moving to Friday, April 26th at the Met in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Undefeated Baltimore welterweight Malik Iceman Hawkins returns. He'll make his third straight trip to Philadelphia, his second straight trip to the Met. He's scheduled to compete in an 8-round contest against an opponent to be determined. Hawkins is 14-0, 9 KOs. He won an 8-round unanimous decision in a really good bout against Gledwin Ortiz. That was on February 23rd again at the Met in Philadelphia. And I had a chance to see that bout. Solid performance. I mean, Ortiz fought well. Hawkins just was very patient and fought very well in the contest. So we don't know whose opponent is going to be yet. That's going to be on Friday, April 26th at the Met in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Now, Saturday, April 27th will be a very interesting day because we have not one, not two, but 3 separate events that'll take place on that very day. The pro event will be the TAC Promotions card that will take place at Tyson's Playground in Vienna, Virginia. Now, a number of Beltway boxers will be on this card, scheduled to be on this card, including Rockville, Maryland middleweight, the Cisco Kid, Francisco Bustos, Bowie, Maryland welterweight, Marlon the Machine Bowen, Waldorf, Maryland welterweight, Rashad Cold Blue Kilpatrick, DC heavyweight, Nathaniel the Juggernaut Copeland, he looked good in his pro debut, DC welterweight, Cornell Hitman Hines, he is a Golden Boy Promotions prospect, and Bowie, Maryland cruiserweight Chester Stewart, who is a former player with the Baltimore Ravens in training camp. Also scheduled to be on this card, a really solid female world champion female boxer by the name of Veronica Queen Jeffrey. She's out of Brooklyn, New York. So that's all going to be on the TAC Promotions card at Tyson's Playground, Vienna, Virginia on Saturday, April the 27th. So that's our pro situation. Back at Rosecroft Raceway on Saturday, April 27th, the regional Golden Glove Championships will take place. And that's where the winners from the Washington, D.C. Championships take on the champions from the Virginia, North Carolina Championship. Now, the winners of the Open Division regionals, they will go to the National Golden Glove Championships that will take place on May 5th through the 12th in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So that's a big event there. Saturday, April 27th, the regional Golden Glove Championships at Rosecroft Raceway. Now, normally we would have blow-by-blow coverage of that card. Unfortunately, we can't. In fact, yours truly would not even be at that card because yours truly will be at the other event that takes place on Saturday, April 27th, and that is the 2019 Belfast Beltway Boxing Classic. That'll take place at the Washington Marriott Wardman Park Hotel in Washington, D.C. Yours truly will be the ring announcer for that event. And this features the annual event where it features a team from local amateurs battling a squad from Belfast, Ireland. Now, the interesting thing about this year's situation is that because the regionals are taking place the very same night at Rosecroft, regional Golden Gloves are taking place the very same night at Rosecroft Raceway, we don't know who's going to be at the event coming up this on April 27th. I won't really know until I get there that evening. I've been told that already. So I can expect that. But I've been told that a month in advance that we don't know because, again, we have a lot of guys who are going to be at, I don't know. I guess the losers from the Washington, D.C. championships may make appearances there. I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't. But it's going to be interesting. And I love going to this event. I haven't been there in a couple of years, but it's a beautiful event. It's a black tie affair. Usually sold out months in advance, and not a whole lot of the fans that are boxing fans, but they're supporting the event. I mean, I think we have more boxing fans there than we do, say, at Fight Night, which is a black tie affair that takes place in November, but at the Washington Hilton Hotel. But I think it's fun because they love to see the young guys go at it. It's a great cultural exchange between Ireland and the Beltway. And every other year, the Beltway boxers will travel to Belfast, Ireland to compete there. and they get treated royally, and it's really a good idea. It's been a great experience. So I've seen it before, and it's good to be back there, and really very honored to be the ring announcer for this event as well. So we'll see what happens. So that's all Saturday, April 27th. The Pro Card at Tyson's Playground, Vienna, Virginia, the Regional Golden Gloves, and the Belfast Beltway Classic. So that's April. And there could be more on the way. We're hearing word that Mike Yes Indeed Reed might fight in the month of April. They're talking about him possibly April 25th. And a couple other boxers maybe on the in boxing coming up in the next month as well. So stay with us right here on Beltway Boxing News and Notes and on the Box on Beltway blog to get the latest information on what's going on. Now before we go, a couple of events that took place this past week. Many of you may have heard by now that Keyshawn Williams, the next big thing out of District Heights, Maryland, who fought on the Lamont Peterson and Sergey Lipinus card at the MGM National Harbor Hotel in Oxon Hill, Maryland, hotel and casino in Oxon Hill, Maryland, got into some difficulty the day after he fought there. He was involved in a shooting that took place in District Heights where a man was killed and a woman was injured. Shot in the leg. She was released from the hospital, but the other man died. Apparently, he was released and they have not charged him as of yet. Now, I don't know any details that have taken place, say, in the last 48 hours or so, but he has not been charged with this crime. They're saying that it may have been a situation involving in self-defense. He may have shot in self-defense. I'm not at liberty to tell you right now what I know about that situation. I've heard some things, because that's one reason. I've heard it. I don't know how true it is, so I don't even want to get into it. Be as it may, though, it's just a tough situation all the way around. I mean, I remember seeing Keyshawn after the card was over, and then we said, gave pleasantries and all, and actually Juan Marsh, I believe, walked out with he and his father, and next thing I know, I get a phone call saying that he's in this mess. So, we wish him well. We hope everything works out. I hope he's not in any damage, because he's a promising boxer. Of course, he won on the card at MGM National Harbor Casino, and he was our Beltway Boxing Rookie of the Year in 2018, and he has a future, we believe. We just hope that future is not damaged going forward. Now, we final point on this podcast tonight about Lamont Peterson. As I've said many times, Lamont Peterson is the first Beltway boxer that I have covered in the 36 years that I covered straight from the amateurs all the way to a world title, pro world title. And I have had the utmost respect and had the utmost fun covering that career. I mean, the first time I had a chance to see Lamont and his brother Anthony, and I've talked about this a few times. One day I've got to do a full story on this, but there was an event that took place in Washington, D.C., the old convention center back in 2001 and 2002 called the Platinum Gloves. I've talked about this many times. This is really one of the best amateur shows I've ever attended. One of the longest amateur shows I've ever attended, too. It took half the night to get this thing done. But I tell you, we had a who's who of boxers. A number of future world champions were on this show. I told you Gary Russell Jr. was on that show. The Peterson brothers. Curtis Stevens, the other half of the Chin Checkers, was there. Just a tremendous array of talent on this show. And I had the pleasure of doing the telecast, the play-by-play broadcast alongside the Fight Dr. Jerome Spears. We had Vincent Petway, had a number of guest situations there, guest commentators, Shambe Mitchell, Hasim Rahman. In fact, when we had Hasim Rahman, I was doing the commentary with Vincent Petway, and they were the two guys who had won world championships since Joe Gans did it way back in the early 1900s, even before the 1900s. But Lamont Peterson was tremendous in that event. He won. He and Anthony won. And throughout his career, he has just been, in a word, tremendous. He is one of only 6 Beltway boxers to have held 3 or more world championships, joining the likes of Sugar Ray Leonard, Simon Brown, Mark Too Sharp Johnson, William Joppy, and also Hasim Rahman. They've all won 3 or more world titles. And he's done it with such class. He's done it with such dignity. When the stoppage took place last Sunday, I was kind of in a bad way for a little bit. Sitting in ringside, sitting in the press section. I was stunned a little bit. I mean, it happened before. It happened against Errol Spence. I get that. I get it. And of course, Errol Spence is one of the best in the business. Not that Sergey Lipinets is bad. He's fantastic. But to see it in person, not on TV, it was a different vibe. And it was a sad vibe, to be perfectly honest with you. And as I mentioned on the post-fight wrap-up show for the card, it reminded me of when Vincent Petway's career ended. Similar ways. The only difference was we went back in the locker room afterwards and really, because Petway was still trying to keep going. And we kept telling him, please don't, just stop. You've had a great career, just stop. Of course, he was IBF junior middleweight champion, and he had a wonderful career. Barry Hunter kind of took care of that for me. And as you know by now, Peterson announced his retirement to the crowd. I think he'll stick by it. There's no way for him to go. Nowhere for him to go. He's had a great career. I mean, the win over Amir Khan will be one of the greatest moments I've ever spent covering Beltway boxing. It was a tremendous event back in December of 2011. He faced quality boxers. He faced Errol Spence, Danny Garcia, Lucas Matisse, Tim Bradley, Derry Jean, Kendall Holt. He faced the best that he could at his weight classes, whether it was welterweight, junior welterweight, or welterweight. And he did it all with such class. I mean, he and his brother are just 2 of the classiest people you ever want to meet in your life. They're first class all the way. They do a lot for the community. I mean, Lamont Peterson has been honored, I think, twice by the DC government. He was honored for winning the title when he beat Amir Khan. And of course, he was honored later on as Lamont Peterson Day. I mean, he's a classy person. He's just a tremendous person. I know he'll be successful in anywhere he's been. I mean, anywhere he will be, I should say. Whether it be training, he may train boxers. We'll see. But he will be successful. He's a very intelligent guy. A lot of people don't give him credit for that. But he's just a wonderful person. He really is just a wonderful person. He and his brother, wonderful Anthony, they're just wonderful people. They have a good support system. Last few weeks I've been talking about good structure, good support system. Well, the Petersons have that. Barry and Cologne Hunter have given them that. The Harris brothers have given them that. Boogie and Jamie, they have given them that. And he has grown into quite a young man. And I wish him the very best in anything he wants to do. I know he'll be successful. And I'm looking forward to some great things outside the ring from Lamont Peterson. Congratulations on a wonderful career. No question he'll be in the DC Boxing Hall of Fame. And in fact, I've said on Facebook, and I stand by this, DC Boxing Hall of Fame should not even wait to 5 years to put him in there. He's going to be in there. Put him in there now. Just put him in there. Don't even worry about it. I mean, the fact that Mark Johnson had to wait so long was beyond me. With the DC Boxing Hall of Fame, I don't get that. But Lamont Peterson needs to be there. He's an outstanding boxer. Credit to the city. Credit to his sport. And one of the greatest Beltway boxers we've ever had. No question about that. So we wish him well, Lamont Peterson. Great guy. And that will do it for another edition of Beltway Boxing News and Notes. And Beltway Boxing News and Notes brought to you by Real-Time Pain Relief. Go to freepainoffer.com, buy $10 worth of Real-Time Pain Relief. You get a free $10 tube of Real-Time Pain Relief. Rub it on. The pain is gone in real time. And by DeborahSpears.com, where she has great weight loss tips and great jewelry. Go to Deborah, Debra Spears.com. I'm Gary Digital Williams. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, we look forward for you joining us. If you cannot be there, we hope you will be there at the Washington Golden Glove Championships on Saturday, April 6th. We're on the air at 7:25 p.m. Eastern Time. Thanks for joining us, and as always, keep supporting the best boxing in the world, the boxing along the Beltway. Thanks for listening. Take care.